Teofimo Lopez manages to beat Josh Taylor via unanimous decision. Just right off the bat, I just have to say that I got my prediction totally wrong. I thought Josh Taylor was going to actually win this fight because of reasons that I mentioned before, such as his larger size. He's a big guy. The fact that he had more championship experience, and the fact that I felt like Top Rank had more promotional goals with him moving up to welterweight and possibly fighting the likes of Terence Crawford and other fighters like that. But just to say it off the bat, that was one of the best fights of this year, I believe. Even though it was a little bit one-sided, it was quite exciting, and there was a lot of punches being thrown back and forth throughout the entire fight. So just to say it off, this fight was quite exciting to watch live. Both of them were going back and forth. In terms of the scoring, I felt like the two judges at the start, they had it a little bit. Closer than I think it should have been. I think the best way to put it is 8 rounds for Teofimo Lopez and probably 4 rounds for Josh Taylor. That's if we're being really generous. Really, if you look at it, it's probably 9 rounds for Teofimo Lopez and 3 rounds for Josh Taylor. Now, the rounds where Josh Taylor actually won were pretty early on. I think it was like the first 3 to 4 rounds. There was a few swing rounds there that could have went either way. Don't get it twisted. There was certain rounds later on as well, like 1 or 2 rounds that could have went Josh Taylor's way as well. But just talking about the fight in general, the first 4 rounds were quite competitive. They were going back and forth. But I think the second round, Teofimo Lopez started to actually start countering and pot-shotting Josh Taylor, and he was actually picking him apart. Josh Taylor, for whatever reason, just could not get his get off today. Like, he literally could not actually get his punches off like in an efficient manner. Usually when he saw him fight in the past, he was quite a proficient combination punches. He'll mix it up to the head and body, but for some reason, I think it might have been because of Teofimo Lopez's movement and his lateral movement, his head movement, and the fact that he was quite slick. Josh Taylor could not actually seem to get a sustained attack on him. So he would land single shots, but he wouldn't land several combinations at one point. There was times when he was landing 2-3 punches at a time, but they were far and in between. Well, if you look at Teofimo Lopez was almost landing right hands all night. So from that perspective, I thought Teofimo Lopez clearly won the fight. At least if we're just being 100% blunt and honest, and not being favourable to Josh Taylor in any type of way, I think Teofimo Lopez won 9 rounds, while Josh Taylor won 3 rounds. This was an exciting back and forth fight, and I just think it was one of them fights that it could be a potential fight of the year. This is how good this fight actually was. Even though Josh Taylor was getting picked apart, he was landing shots and he was quite competitive, and they're both landing shots against each other. There was a point towards the end of the fight where it looked like Teofimo Lopez was going to actually stop Josh Taylor and actually get a stoppage. There were several times when he buzzed him, and there was a time where for some reason he was getting hit multiple times, and for some reason he just kept himself up. It was just force of will, or however he did it. I don't know how he did it, but he just kept getting buzzed and hit by right hands, constantly getting hit by right hands, and then through force of will or struggle, I don't know how he did it, but he kept himself up. He took a shellacking in this fight, Josh Taylor did. Even if you just look in between the rounds, yes, Teofimo Lopez looked a little bit exhausted because of the high pace of the fight, but he didn't look broken and shattered. While if you look at Josh Taylor, when he was in the corner, he looked like he was suffering, like he looked like he was going through it. So from that perspective, I think it was a clear win for Teofimo Lopez. But what I would say is that I'm glad that Teofimo Lopez didn't get robbed. When I heard that when it took such a long time for the scorecards to get together and for the decision to be read, I got a little bit nervous. I was like, yeah, there's something going on here. And then when I heard the scorecards, they looked a little bit closer, so I thought they might rob Teofimo Lopez, but thankfully they didn't do that. Teofimo Lopez has been going through a plethora of issues in his personal life with his father, with his wife. This is all well documented, and I think what he did was, like, all of his frustration and all of the pain that he was going through, I think he just put it into this performance. He just channeled that negative energy into something productive, which is what fighters should do. Whenever they're going through some type of crisis or going through something in their personal life, just take that pain and frustration and just put it into training. And I think that's what he did, and he came away giving one of the best performances in his career. This is right up there with his Lomachenko performance, and dare I say, I think it might be better than the Lomachenko performance. I'm going to make a separate video talking about that. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of when Mike Tyson fought Michael Spinks. Mike Tyson had a loads of issues going on outside of the ring, and he just took out all of his frustration on Spinks. And I think it's not the same thing, because obviously Mike Tyson was a puncher and managed to finish him in the first round, but to some extent I think it's somewhat similar. I think Teofimo Lopez had so much going on in his personal life, and he just decided to channel all of that energy towards giving the best the best performance of his career, if you look at the context of the situation. So yeah, tell me what you think below. Is this the fight of the year? Is this one of the best fights that's happened so far? What do you think about it? And what do you think about the scorecards? Do you think they were too close, or do you think they were just right? And where do you think Josh Taylor goes from here? And where do you think Teofimo Lopez goes from here? I'm gonna make a separate video talking about that as well. Tell me what you think below, and like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace.